This question's from Mark. How do you make wise financial and life decisions? Well, Mark, since my last name is Wise, I plan on giving you some wise financial advice. Life decisions, that's probably up to you, but I can certainly help you with the money piece. There's so many things I can talk about when it comes to making better financial decisions. And I can go into mindset, I can talk about your relationship with money, but really just to keep it simple here, something that you can do very quickly that think can help you make some better financial decisions right off the bat. It's something I call meaningful versus meaningless. So, my students in my Wise Money School, they do this exercise. I think it's week 3 actually. And what they do is the exercise is to take all of your expenses for 90 days. I mean, every one of them. You go through your credit cards, you go through your Venmo, you go through your Amazon, you go through your bank account, any place that you're spending money, and you write it all down. So list everywhere you spent it and all how much it was, every single item. Now, from there, you move all of that spending and you move it from into one or the other category. And one category is meaningful spending, and the other category is meaningless spending. And you do this exercise, and it's really eye opening. And my students usually say, "Oh my God, I had no idea I was spending that much money on meaningless, stupid shit." And that's what happens. We just spend without thinking. So, meaningful expenses are expenses that really move the needle. They really bring joy. They really create memories. They make a difference in your life. There's something that, gives you a little extra skip, in your step that day. Meaningless is that. It's just meaningless, frivolous money that just evaporates. And, sometimes it's buying an extra bag of chips and Coke when you go in the convenience store. Usually it shows up in the form of lots of different subscriptions that we're not paying attention to. It shows up in just staying out and getting a lot, having drinks and eating out a lot. It shows up a lot in convenience spending like DoorDash and different things like this, just because, to be truthful, we're just being a little lazy. We don't want to go out in the cold weather. So it's all of this meaningless expenses. And so to help you make better financial decisions, the poor financial decisions are that it's that meaningless spending. So if we can stop that, that's going to help you have a lot more money at the end of every month. So that's the first thing that I would advise you to do. Now, the second thing is what I call the 3 second rule. And the 3 second rule is before you spend, you take one 1,000, two 1,000, three 1,000, and in that time, you ask yourself, is this worth my freedom? And that's another exercise that we do in the money school, in the Wise Money School. Is it worth my freedom? Because what I teach is there's something called the freedom number. And your freedom number is this number that's super important to you. It's your number. And this number, it's like your North Star, it's your holy grail. And that's your number. And let's say your number is I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a net worth millionaire. And so $1 million net worth, that's your freedom number. And so it's understanding the only way to become a millionaire and to hit our freedom number, which is about having a lot more choice and a lot more time and a lot more sanity. So when we have this freedom number, then that's the first financial commitment that no matter what, I'm going to stay on track to hit this number because it's really important to me. I want to become financially free and I want to get out of this month to month hamster wheel and keeping up with the Joneses and being in this financial rat race. I'm done with that. So when you have your freedom number, let's say it's $1 million, then this meaningful and meaningless expenses has a lot more meaning because all this meaningless expending is keeping you from this really important thing, which is to be financially free. So that's this question is this worth my freedom? Is this expense worth my freedom? And that's easier said than done because these days it's so easy to spend. We can spend on Venmo, we can spend on Apple Pay, we can spend on Google Pay, we can spend, swiping our credit card. Amazon makes it so easy we never have to put our credit card in a second time. You just go in and click. One click and it shows up to your door the next day. And do you think this is by accident? No. All these banks, all these companies, they understand this thing called our brain. And in our brain, we have something called dopamine. And dopamine is this uh, neurotransmitter that makes things exciting. It's the novelty. But the dopamine hit is what happens. The dopamine response is when people take cocaine. There's this big dopamine hit. That's what makes them feel so good. Sugar creates a big dopamine hit. So people that are addicted to sugar, you eat sugar, you get this big hit. And with each of these, you think about these dopamine hits, some of the bigger hits that make people feel really great, let's say like cocaine and sugar, it feels great in the moment, but coming down from that is feels really terrible. So you almost have to get that next hit again. And that becomes what's called an addiction. So there's something called the dopamine financial addiction. And it's the same thing because we get a dopamine hit every time we go to Amazon. We put it in our cart and it says it's going to be at our doorstep the next day. We feel good. It shows up at the doorstep the next day. We unbox it. We feel even better. Dopamine hit followed by dopamine hit. Amazon's got it. So it's just boom, boom. You don't even have to wait between the hits more than 12 to 24 hours. But then at the end of the month, when you're looking at your credit card bills, then becomes that big down cycle again where you're just paying and now you're filled with remorse and regret and man, and that's kind of the lifestyle of the addict. Feel great, feel horrible. Feel great, feel horrible. So there's this same thing, which I call the spending addiction, the financial spending addiction. And it's just as powerful as some of these other addictions. And the banks make it really easy, and everybody's trying to grab for our money. So when you understand how our brain works and that this is just a normal human thing to want to, feel good about a purchase and something wind up to our doors, how to make better financial decisions is to be aware of that you're kind of in the system that we can get these hits of dopamine all the time and just follow that 3 second rule. So to sum that up, 3 second rule: 1001, 1002, 1003. Just wait. Number two, to ask yourself, is this meaningful or meaningless? And number three, ask yourself, is this worth my freedom? And by doing those three things, you're automatically going to start making better financial decisions.